Back when I was 9 years old, I used to have this itching fear of someone being in my room watching me. So, my parents got me a nightlight to help me get over it. At night, I would wake up and the fear of someone being in my room came to mind. So I would sit up and, thanks to the nightlight, would see no one there. It honestly did the trick. I would have my room partially lit up and would feel safe. Even though my parents slept one door away, I honestly still felt scared before I got it. One day, while my dad was at work, me and my mom had the weekend to ourselves. We went to this large shopping mall to have some fun, buying toys and clothes for me and my mom. I remember seeing this really large play area in the center of the mall. I was so excited, my eyes lit up in excitement. Before I could even say a thing, my mom said I could go there. She knew me well, she would often know what I wanted before I even asked it. I ran over to the play area while my mom sat on a bench close by and watched me like a hawk. I climbed up the slide and there was a network of tubes and windows that you could see through and climb through. Kids were everywhere, going up and down, climbing through the network of tubes. I saw at the end of one of the tubes leading to a little room. It was designed like the front of an airplane. I loved airplanes when I was young, so I immediately crawled through the tubes as fast as I could to get there. When I reached the little front of the airplane room, there were fake buttons you could press that would make beeping noises. There was also a little steering wheel in the front. I pressed the buttons and played with the steering wheel like any little kid would. I just happened to look out of the window to my left and saw a man looking right at me. I remember him wearing a black hoodie and blue jeans. He looked to be in his early 30s. He stared at me with this really yellow, toothy smile. I remember his eyes also looked bloodshot. I realize now that he may have been on something. We stared at each other for at least 6 seconds, and that's when I heard my mom calling my name. I looked to my right window and saw her gesturing for me to come down. I did so, and she grabbed my hand and we left the mall. My mom strapped me in my car seat and she got in the car as well. She made sure no one was around or followed us. Then she locked the doors and told me how she saw the man I was looking at and how he started to look at me the whole time I entered the playground. My mom went on to say that he followed my movements through the windows of the playground. I didn't think much of this, being just a little kid, so I brushed it off. That night, my dad called my mom, saying how he was stuck at work doing overtime due to the lack of employees who were available that night. My mom then said, "Okay, bye, I love you." She hung up the phone and prepared me for bed. She plugged in my nightlight, tucked me in bed, and kissed me goodnight. Hours passed, and I remember waking up early. I tried looking at my alarm clock. I purposely kept it at the end of my nightstand, so I could always read it right there instead of having to get up out of bed to look at it. But I couldn't even see my alarm clock. It was pitch black darkness. All I could see were my bed sheets. Literally nothing else was visible in my room. I then realized my nightlight wasn't plugged in. But my mom plugged it in, I thought. That's when the fear set in. The fear of someone being in my room with me. Right when the fear started to set in, I heard a loud creak right in front of my bed. A cold chill went through my body when this happened. I instantly scrambled to reach for my lamplight and turned it on. Right when I did this, I saw a man staring at me with bloodshot eyes at the foot of my bed. He then smiled in this toothy yellow smile. I screamed as loud as I could with fear. The man then bolted and jumped out of my window right before my mom came in, but she wasn't fast enough to see the man leaving. I told her there was a man in my room. At first, she didn't believe me, but then I told her that my nightlight wasn't plugged in, and how she plugged it in when she tucked me into bed. She paused and thought for a second. I slowly saw her face turn into a horrified look. She ran to our home phone and called the police, then my dad. Looking back at it now, I knew she realized someone had to have been in the room with me, because she knew how afraid I was of being alone in my room in pitch black darkness, and how I would never unplug the nightlight. The cops came and my mom explained to them what happened. Just then, my dad's car pulled up. He ran over to both me and my mom and gave us a big hug, asking if we were alright. The cops took the nightlight, as he had to touch it to unplug it. They said they would look for fingerprints on it, giving this as the only evidence they had. It was unclear how he entered, but we assume he entered through my open window. The policemen searched our property, but found no signs of the man. They also told us that the nightlight had no fingerprints on it, which means he wore gloves. The cops said they would stay outside of our house for the night and see if he would come back. My parents were okay about it and went to bed. I didn't get any more sleep that night, but now that I think about it, the man I saw in the mall smiling at me and the man in my room had to be the same person. They had the same exact smile and bloodshot eyes. Then a sick realization came to my mind. For that guy to know where I live and literally crawl through my window into my room, he would have had to have followed us home. How did he do that? I have no idea. The cops never found the guy. We moved to another town now, and I thankfully grew out of the fear of someone being in my room. I'm 15 now, and I exercise and work out every day. I worked on it, and I have an impressive build for my age. I now met the girl I love, and I recently graduated my freshman year of high school with all A's. I am now having a normal and happy life. I don't let this incident drag me down, because it was from my past, and I realize now, in order to be successful, you have to tend to the future. To everyone watching or listening to this, always be aware of where you are and your surroundings, and if you see someone suspicious or someone watching or following you, get to a crowded area or building where lots of people are immediately. If there's nothing like that and you're all alone, pull out your phone and call the cops. Remember, it's better to be safe than sorry.